I'm not heavy. Oh, he ain't heavy. Sorry, he's my brother. And I'm
Well,
your
in
brother.
comparison to you, I'm not.
Hey. Talking about brothers, right? Apple TV. So I always like to roll out something that's really good. The Scorsese documentary. Okay, so it's about 7 or 8 episodes. It is fascinating. Like, firstly, what that man has made. You forget what he's made. And secondly, when you see the way he grew up, it mirrors all the movies because he grew up in a really tough Italian, and he saw the shootings, he saw the mob, he saw all of that sort of stuff going on. His brother was called, I think it was Frankie the Bug, and no, sorry, that was his father's brother who was a mobster as well. His own brother got into some trouble, but he had asthma. This is just very quickly. He had asthma, so bad they wouldn't let him out on the street because the streets were polluted and there was kids killing each other, fighting. So he viewed life through windows, and his friends used to say he viewed life through different frames. And one of the famous shot in every single movie, there's always a dramatic shot of one of the main characters looking down onto the scene from a window. You see it in Casino, you see it in Goodfellas, and everyone said it was Scorsese because as a kid, that's how he saw life, through windows. I think it's fascinating. Well worth having a look at it. It's really, really good. And I'm only into episode 1.
Same parents, different timelines, and united by chaos. Strap on, strap in, for the not-so-Christian brothers.
I think we all are byproducts of how we grew up.
Yeah.
And a big part of when I went back to university to study psychology that really interested me is that, the nature of your nurture is so much determining in respect to how you actually turn out. And we try to avoid it and step around it. But in reality, it's a byproduct. Like, most people are still trying to impress one of their parents who didn't pay enough attention.
Yeah, no, absolutely, yeah. And even you see it with some people, and their parents may have been abusive towards them, be it psychological or physical or whatever. And even as grown-ups, that child is drawn magnetically to that person to try and get validation. Like, it is scary when you see it. And it's funny because I did start thinking about it when he was sitting around with his mates that he grew up with, and they were, hey, Marty was this and Marty was that. I was thinking I'd love at some stage, because I'm still mates with my mates that I went to school with the very first day. You know them, Philip, Kira and Shauna. I'd love to sit around at some stage and record it and see how we viewed each other when we were 7 or 8 years on the tough, mean streets of Northside Dublin, and how did that change? Because I can, I know what my mates do, a lot of them, and you can see how different we all are. Yet we're sort of that little, we still go out and have a few beers and go to a football game and that.
Yeah, but I think it is interesting, and I think for everybody, how we all perceive ourselves versus how we were perceived is so completely different, right? And humans are obsessed about what everybody else is thinking about them. And in reality, if you really get into that, nobody's really thinking about anybody else because everybody's desperately worried about what everybody else thinks of them.
Yeah.
So you can actually just do whatever you want, really, because nobody really cares, right? But I think we all have this idea of who we would like to be, and often it's based on how somebody told us that we should be. Like, I was listening to Jurgen Klopp's interview in Diary of a CEO. He was talking about his relationship with his father growing up, and he said, my father was good, he was supportive, he did push me, he did want me to do sports, he did want me to be outside. And the more times I excelled, like he said, when I used to race him on the street or I'd race him on the ski slope, he always beat me. He'd never let me win. And Stephen Bartlett said to him, well, are you upset about that? Because, the reality is that that's going to hurt as a child.
Yeah.
And Klopp says, well, no, I'm not, because it made me better. And he said, and then when I became a professional sportsman and I'd go home and talk to my dad, he'd say, well, you can probably do better. So he created this persona that he continues to carry today based on that relationship with his dad. But
Sounds like a tough relationship.
Well, it is.
Was there tough? Was there respect? Was there love?
Huge amount of love, huge amount of respect. So he speaks. Okay. I'm not going to rehash the interview. He speaks very beautifully about his dad.
Yeah.
But a lot of the times that can be an absentee father who is too busy and he's not paying attention. Or there's 4 or 5 kids and dad pays attention to him, but not attention to them. And then that becomes the catalyst to create who you become. But funnily enough, when we were in hospital with your beautiful wife, and I think it was the second night Anne was ill, and we were all sitting in the waiting room, and all of a sudden I'm sitting there in this god awful room with you and my two sisters, and I was looking at you all, and my abiding thought was, my God, we're all getting old, especially all of you, because you're all older than me.
Yeah.
But I also had this moment where I thought it's really interesting, and I'd never considered it myself, but I'd always kind of charted through this idea of, what is it that makes people want to perform? And inevitably you find this parental influence or a lack of that motivates people. But I actually realized when I was a kid, the only audience I was ever playing to were you guys. And even in my 20s and 30s, I needed to excel to show you guys what I was doing. I never cared about what my parents thought. I actually dismissed them off the page completely.
Okay, hang on. Whoa. Hold your knickers. Welcome to Not So Christian Brothers. This
Hi.
episode this week, we have Justin Caffrey and Colm Hayes. Different names, but same genetics, we think.
Brothers.
That was such a gorgeous intro because, guys, this week I want to talk about family ties, connections, but kind of you guys. We haven't really ever done.
See how I did that?
Do you know what, Justin? I sometimes think it's scripted, but we haven't really gotten to the juice of you two. We know that you're brothers. Sometimes, actually, most of the time, opposing views, bloody different careers and lives, and all of the stuff. And you've had your rocky road, but how did you get here? Where Justin kind of is carrying you through this really tough time recently, Colm, and there for your grief and this friendship and this podcast. So that is your talking point for this week's Not So Christian Brothers.
you do think, last Thursday we spoke about patriarchal society and men and that, and I think I spoke about Cain and Abel, the first two brothers that actually one had to murder the other.
Keep going back to that.
No, because I think brotherhood is a really interesting conversation. I think it's really interesting when you see it. I know you look at some of your mates, I look at some of my mates, and their brothers, and they might have two or three brothers, and the completely different relationships they have with them, depending on what happened in their lives. Now, you came along quite late. So I was the youngest of the family for a 12-year period, right? I was getting all the love from my sisters, right, and my older brother, who's no longer with us, and my parents. I was getting money. I was getting great presents, and then you came along, and it wasn't good. I didn't particularly like that. I think a couple of times I kicked you out of the pram or something,
Yeah, but I don't think that would be in any way unusual. Well, actually, in saying that, I was talking to a friend of mine the other night who's just had his wife just had a baby, and his kids are 12 and 9. He went, it's quite nice because they're past that age where they'd see it as a problem. So actually, it's interesting that you did. But
I went a decade. Think of it. I went a decade of plotting. I was plotting the next decade of how I was going to get more love, more validation, more money, right?
Wow.
Bigger laughs, greater audience. And little Sprog comes along, and you whipped that away from me completely. I'm still not good with it.
Wow.
Did your parents not whip it away from you?
Did what?
Your parents not whip it away from you?
No, because he was called a mistake.
Oh!
quite literally,
Can
I
we
was.
get a therapist in for this entire session? Because
So I was the mistake because our parents had kind of nailed it. 2 boys, 2 girls, job done. 12 years in, 1975, not a condom in sight, and they get pregnant, right? So off you move from top slot, and I move in.
Yeah.
But the thing is, back to that idea of how I perceived you guys at that stage, I think it's really interesting because where everybody is in a family pecking order has so much relevance in terms of how they see the world. Because, you often have this thing, and I hear this all the time when I'm working with people, where siblings are like, oh yeah, my brother or sister doesn't have a clue what went on. But it's relevant for most people at a psychological level. What happens generally between 11 and 15 or 16 are the real moments, right? And especially if anything traumatic happens. So we're all arriving in this station of our adolescence in different carriages on a train.
Yeah.
So our experience of our parents, like if you think about, your son Alex, his generation experienced all their parents in this great recession, right? And then Holly comes afterwards, where she probably didn't have that same experience. Alex would have greater memories. So I think you have certain moments in time where people at different ages experience different things, and as a consequence, that psychologically impacts them. So when I go back to my opening point about us as a family, I was trying to impress you guys because I had no real interest in trying to impress my parents. And it was only really probably into my, late 20s where I realized that. And then I thought, I can't be arsed with you lot.
See, I was always trying to impress Dad.
But there you go. That's the point.
Yeah.
I never, that was just never even a consideration.
Do you know what's interesting? And I'll take it back to what I said earlier on about Martin Scorsese and that looking out through windows. We all look out through a different window at the same piece of scenery and then see it at a different angle. So, like, if you just put our parents there walking down the street and you look out one window and Gráinne looks out one window and I look out, we look at them we see completely different parents. And they look back up and they see completely different kids, And I remember because when I felt like I was going to get into the creative arts and I was going to be a screenwriter and head off to Hollywood and all that sort of stuff, that I really wanted to impress Dad. I wanted to tell him this all the time, and if I think about it, and he was a kind, empathetic man, but I don't think he really cared. Unless I was going to write a James Bond movie, it didn't really matter, And then I think you were playing catch up. So it was years later then that I wanted to sort of impress you, But at the start, no, because you're 12 years younger than me,
But also, I think it's interesting too, though, because you had a relationship with our father, right? And again, to go to this point about the carriages arriving at the station, by the time I was 7 or 8, Dad became a very depressed and reclusive character.
Well, we blamed you.
And I take full responsibility for it.
Thank you.
But I do think in some kind of
Brothers,
deranged
that's what we do.
and strange way,
Yeah.
it was part of that. I do think that having a child when they kind of thought, well, maybe we're kind of on the other side of such responsibilities was hard in their relationship and hard in them. But the dynamic for me was that, like, he was just completely absent, and I don't mean that in a dismissive way, because he battled with depression most of his life, and I never went anywhere with him. I never saw anything. I never did anything. I don't actually remember ever being alone with him until I was about 21. I remember he asked me to go for a pint with him in the Autobahn, and I nearly fell over, principally because he wanted to talk to me about something to do with our mother.
Okay.
But there was no relationship, whereas I
never went for a pint with him.
Well,
I went to a football game with him.
exactly. Went to other stuff with him, but you have stories about him, which we've discussed in earlier episodes of the podcast, which simplify a relationship, and then as a context you want to do it. Whereas if I think about if I was to reflect on my first memory of you,
Oh God.
and there's many actually, but probably the kindest memory I have is 7 years of age. I had bronchitis, and it was the worst snow in Ireland. It would have been like 1982, and I couldn't go outside, and I was knackered. And you came up to the house, and you built a snowman in the back garden for me, and I watched you build it out the window.
Did I?
Yeah.
Please stop.
Was it good?
Yeah.
Okay. I can't remember that.
Can I ask what age you were when your parents were when you were born? Were they like...
What age I was when my parents were born?
Sorry.
That's a very
That's very deep.
It's a
Are
deep
you asking in the spiritual context?
Where were you in your past life?
What age were his parents when I was born?
No, when
When he was born?
when Justin was born, what age were your parents?
Middle age.
My mother was 40 and my father was 43.
Which is
so they were
very
really old
Yeah,
in
at that time.
1975.
Yeah.
That was
That'd be like
extraordinary.
me having a bobbin now.
Even worse.
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 But like, remember, it was 1975.
Yeah.
Like, people weren't having babies in their 40s.
people were dying in their 40s. Yeah,
True.
yeah. Like people in their 50s were really old, and people in their 60s, you pointed and shouted at them on the street that they actually. Well, no, now. But
think
then,
now we should as
That
well.
snowman story is going to be our Christmas special. Like, that to me signifies And I'm just like, what did Colm? Because Colm has to get something from something. Like, what did you get from that?
I remember. They still to this stage don't know that's where I hid the drugs because the cops were coming. I moved into an apartment flat we called it then, with Anne in the Rathgar. And I think then we sort of formed a relationship as such, older brother, younger brother, because you used to come around and stay.
Yeah, which was great because I hated being at home.
Yeah.
So I used to love
So
going to hang out
weekends
with
you'd
you.
come over and listen to my vinyl, and we'd probably take you out for a pizza or something.
Yeah.
Anne's sister, her younger sister, Tara, used to come around.
And
So
me and
those
her
guys
used to
were good
drink
mates.
all your alcohol when nobody was looking.
Yeah, which I didn't really care, you know.
Did you score, Tara?
No.
That was a real, like, people want to know that on the DMs.
And then
Tara was older than me, and like Tara was like super cool.
was she street smart?
Did
Street
she
smart
always have weed
teenager.
with her? She always had weed, didn't she?
No, Tara never weeded.
No, she was just a drinker.
But
She was
like,
a great drinker.
Margaret Thatcher is your ideal woman. So I'm just thinking older woman.
My wife is 6 years older than me.
Is she?
Yeah. So yeah, there we go.
There you go. Yeah.
I've obviously got a mother thing.
But I think on the iteration of
She doesn't look 6 years older. Most people think she's younger than me.
she looks so much younger than you.
I know.
She could pass as your daughter.
I thought your wife was younger than you. Yeah, I thought she was.
I thought she was a daughter.
If you actually
first
see
time.
our wedding photographs, I look like some kind of leering old geezer marrying a young lady.
You still
If you
look
don't
like a
mind me
leering
saying so,
old
I'm going to give you
geezer.
a compliment. Then. In the last couple of years,
I really, work on cultivating this image.
in the last couple of years, you've got control of your hair, right? But for years, it was your enemy. And there are some pictures there. I have a great one of our wedding because we were looking at them the last couple of weeks with Anne's passing. And you're in the background of one of them. And you had the curtains. Do you know the haircuts with those
That was
curtains?
cool.
That was hot.
That was, yeah.
And I used to shave it underneath
right, you used
the
to
sides
shave
and back.
a little
It's
bit,
like
yeah.
A little
number
step.
0.
I want
Did
you
you
to
go
bring in.
upstairs
I want you
once?
to bring in your wedding photos and some childhood photos for an episode down the line, guys. I want to see these.
Did you go upstairs once in Santry when we were living and shave your eyebrow off?
No, I shaved off like a part of my hair here because I was experimenting with a razor, and then I went, oh no, I've shaved on one side, and I shaved off the other side, and now I had like 2 bits missing. And then my parents came home, and I was like, I've got to go to school tomorrow, and now I've got this mad shit going, and they were like, well, it's your fault. So they obviously told you all had a good laugh about it, but then I shaved off all my hair.
Right.
And got suspended from school.
Did
So I thought,
you?
well, I might as well just
Did
shave
you
it all
shave
off.
it all off?
Except one really long piece at the front.
Oh, I remember that. That was awful. That's
I had like a tennis ball with a really long fringe, and then I got kicked out of school.
Yeah, that was that iteration of our brotherhood, and then you went to London and did all your stuff, and you went to Southampton, whatever. And would this be the sort of third iteration of it? Or, you know what I mean? I'm trying to think of when you went to London, and we won't do too many stories, but at the start you were a right little pain in the hole, right? And I remember you used to come home for a weekend, and we'd go and have dinner, and you were drinking then, and we'd go and have dinner with my mates or whatever, and you'd always start a fight. And you'd leave the dinner table in a big huff, and I had to go down to the streets of Dublin looking for you somewhere. What? And you did it, I'd say, 3 or 4 times, didn't you?
Yeah, because
Go on.
well, principally because I was really confused in my 20s about.
Your sexuality.
No,
I think
there
it
was
was okay
no
with that.
confusion
Yeah.
there.
Yeah.
That was the other thing I had definitely nailed down. I think
Nailed down. This is matron.
Very dark.
Yeah.
I think I was confused about my relationship with my parents, and then all of
He
you
blamed
guys.
me for that.
No,
He did.
I didn't.
No, you blamed me for not being around.
Yeah, I think I felt at that stage wrongly, for the record. Like, I don't feel this animosity at all now, but I felt, during my teenage years, during my time at home in Santry, it was a very unpleasant period. And I think you kind of want somebody to blame, and it kind of feels weird. It feels weird if you blame your parents, and I don't blame my parents. I'm very chilled about them now, and I have a very easy relationship with my mother.
And here she is.
Smelling like Lucy Kennedy.
But I think, young men in their 20s, they're trying to figure their shit out. And if you come from some, strange environments as we did at that stage, yeah. So I think I probably wanted to tell you that I loved you and needed you.
Jesus, Van Morrison. Have I told you lately?
But I didn't know how to do that in my 20s. Do you?
Also, instead you threw a bottle like Rory McIlroy's
But
wife.
that's what brothers do, right? Like, isn't that the reality?
It is, in fairness, yeah.
You know, it's very hard for men to articulate their emotions. So as you try to articulate them, you drink more alcohol, thinking, "Oh, I want to really tell you how I feel," and then it's like, actually, you're a prick. I want to hit you with a bottle. So I think it's a confused kaleidoscope of emotions for men in their 20s, and you were in your 30s, for God's sake. Like, we weren't, and you were, you know, like, you,
Messed up.
yeah, like, you weren't
Still.
immature in your 30s, right?
Never.
So
No.
So I was basically like
I thought
talking,
I was rock and
talking
roll.
to my teenage brother,
Yeah,
not
yeah,
my
yeah.
older brother.
Yeah, no, you're absolutely right. I had no clue what I was.
No, so the consequences were we just had a big fight.
I know. I just kept, I never had self-worth. Ever. I always thought I should be better, should be better, should be better, should be better. Still do, but I'm okay with it now because time's running out. I'm sort of okay with what I have. But I think that was, so you were throwing bottles and I was going, oh, well, I should be Steven Spielberg writing the next Jaws movie, and who do you think you are? And then bang, poof, and you disappear now and go after him. And my mates would go, we're never coming out again with you. And then one night you went off and you got mugged. Do you remember outside Sinnott's? That was one of the nights you walked away.
No,
that
that was my 21st,
Oh, was it? Okay. Happy birthday.
and we went to Night Owls, and my cousin got into trouble. Our cousin got into trouble.
Oh, yeah.
And then one of the bouncers threw me up against the wall for trying to get, because she was having an asthma attack or something.
Yeah.
And I loafed the bouncer in Night Owls, which, by the way, at that stage they were run by the INLA, and I loafed him in the nose and broke his nose, and then it all kicked off as we were 21 years of age.
And I came down in the car.
I had
that night.
yeah,
I came down in the car
yeah.
because you'd left all your coats and everything behind.
And I had to. I was in hospital and I couldn't go home to Santry. I was living in London at the time, and I was, I was 21. I was young. I was an idiot. But I was, So there was a lot of bad stuff in my 20s.
But now it's good.
Oh yeah, now it's good.
You don't feel the need to loaf bouncers or to throw bottles at me.
No, and I know. In fairness, now that bouncer who I did loaf,
They were ignorant little.
They were really, and they were
I
doing
went
something
down
completely
afterwards.
nasty to a young lady. So they
They
deserved it.
they were ignorant. I remember that night. Later that night when I went down, because you'd all left your coats or whatever, the nightclub was closed, and they tried to get shirty with me, and that was not a nice experience at all. Yeah.
But I got a severe hiding off them. They brought me into a room, about 5 of them, and beat the living daylights out of me.
We'd sue them now. Is it too late to sue them?
It goes back to what I said about the Christian Brothers. I don't really mind when I go through that kind of stuff.
But
You
now,
learn.
I'm saying, so I think the reason it works now, and you asked that, Rebecca, sorry, is because we're not mature. We're slightly more mature than we were. And we're more, I think we're more tolerant of each other.
Yes.
Like we like the things we like, and the things we don't like in the other person, we tolerate.
That's like a marriage. So.
It sort of is, yeah, in a weird way, yeah. Well, I think honest to goodness brotherhood is greater than a marriage. I think it is greater than a marriage. I think that relationship, when you get to a point of where we get, it is probably one of the strongest relationships I've had, and that has been proved over the last couple of weeks.
Does that mean like you're my wife now? You're my wife now.
Like that voice.
Did you ever see the Fast Show?
Oh,
Was it the Fast Show?
Yeah, that was very creepy. That was.
Close the text door. You're my wife now.
Wasn't that the dude that painted himself with the black and the white eyes and stuff like that? Yeah.
I mean,
Is
it's
your
just
my wife now?
Hey, I'm actually trying to be nice and make a very
I just
emotional
don't
position
know
here, and
about
it just
you
goes.
guys.
No, I'm just saying, like what, and I've said it before, and just what you did for me the last couple of weeks. No other person could have done it. I don't think anybody else could do it except your brother.
Yeah, but I don't think,
Don't expect me to ever do that.
I wouldn't expect you to do anything. but I don't think, I think you just sometimes do things for people because of the nature of the connection. And I think blood is thicker than water. And I think those moments.
I say thicker than Merlot, but go ahead.
Well, I don't know. You do a lot of Merlot. I don't. So but I do think What's important at this point is to draw a very clear distinction that I'm not in any way getting connected to you at a marital level, nor am I sharing a bed with you or anything else.
Sorry,
okay?
we have shared a bed. And you tried to, you put a pillow over my face. He did. We shared a bed in a hotel in Spain a number of years ago. I was snoring so heavily. I woke up and he was kneeling over me with a pillow.
You fiddle with him.
No, he didn't fiddle. He was trying to kill me.
Can I just say that at a very disturbing level, I clearly know that it was twin beds, and there's no way I would have shared a bed with you, right? So the fact that you think that you shared a bed with me even is fine more. I did come over to your bed and want to kill you
With a
because you
pillow.
snore like a
Train. Yeah. Oh, yes.
Anyway, look,
It
we are
always-
brothers.
It always gets sexual in the end.
We are related. We do have a past.
We do different names.
We hope we have a future. And the only way we can have a future is if you support this podcast. So please, right now, and I'm talking to you who's listening or watching, you need to press that like, subscribe, and follow. You need to share this with at least 2 of your friends. And if you have a sibling, share it with the one that you like.
Is that the only way we have a future?
I think so.
And then we have the after show Sunday, guys. With
Yeah,
a bit
yeah.
of chat.
Get ready for that.
Get involved and get onto our Instagram page. We're building there, not so. Well done. Nice chat.
Thank you, guys. Thank you.